President, my dear George, thank you for having invited us. We, by that I mean I myself and President Barroso, have a mandate from the 27 members of the European Union to come here and say first and foremost that this is a worldwide crisis and therefore we must find a worldwide solution. Each region of the world, each part of the world, to begin with the United States and then the European countries and now Asia, are trying to find an answer to the crisis. But this answer will be all the more effective insofar as we find it together, we speak with one and the same voice, and we build together the capitalism of the future. I say things that I deeply believe here. This may be a great opportunity if we do not fall back into the hateful practices of the past, practices that have led us exactly where we are right now. Now, the President of the United States is right in saying that protectionism and closing one's borders is a catastrophe. He is right to say that it would be wrong, catastrophic, to challenge the foundations of market economics. But we cannot continue along the same lines because the same problems will trigger the same disasters. We can only go forward with a sense of responsibility and that those who have made the mistakes bear the brunt of their errors and shoulder their burden of responsibility. And we have come here on behalf of Europe to say to this great American nation that we wish to build a better world, the world of the 21st century, that we wish to work hand in glove in building this world with you. But we must not waste any time. We want a summit, the nations of the G8, as has been stated, and no doubt the G5 countries, so that together with Asian states and others, we find a worldwide solution. This must be done forthwith, as President Bush has said, possibly even before the end of the month of November. And we believe that insofar as the crisis began in New York, then the global solution must be found to this crisis in New York. All of us putting our heads together. We must look on the fundamental rules that will apply to this 21st century of ours. We live in the 21st century, but we continue to abide 20th century rules. Hedge funds cannot continue operating as they have in the past. Tax havens, neither. Financial institutions that are under no supervisory control. This is no longer acceptable. This is no longer possible. Together, among friends, among allies, we must be able to say to the world that we are determined to find a solution together, to find answers together. George, my friend, together with José Manuel, myself, we speak with one and the same voice. We have brought European nations together. That was no easy task. There were British traditions, French traditions, German traditions, Latin traditions, but we found a solution. And why were we able to do so? Quite simply because this is such a serious crisis. It is such a systemic crisis. And it is on that note that I wish to end. Why must we make haste? We must make haste because we must stabilize the marketplace as swiftly as possible by coming up with answers. And once calm has been restored, we must avoid at all costs that those who have led us to where we are today should be allowed to do so once again. We believe in the capacity and the ability of the American people to come up with the answers that the world is waiting for, is expecting. Because this sort of capitalism is a betrayal of the sort of capitalism we believe in. And that is the reason why, with President Barroso, we have come to make Europe's voice heard. And next week we will be chairing the Europe-Asia Summit and get across the same message. In today's world, this world of ours, we cannot leave anyone out of the global, worldwide solution that we need to this crisis. Thank you, Mr. President, for having invited us. Thank you for using your term of office right up until the very end to help the world find the answers to a crisis that we must contain. We must not give way to fatalism.
George, thank you for receiving us here at Camp David. This is a global financial crisis that requires global solutions. Europe is taking decisive action. Our 27 member states and the European Union institutions have worked and have agreed this week on a common framework for their actions to deal with the financial crisis. This includes measures to address liquidity in interbank markets, recapitalization of banks, and guaranteeing households' deposits. Coordination and consistency of countries' decisions is the way to secure an efficient response to these unprecedented challenges. For these unprecedented challenges, we need an unprecedented level of global coordination. The European Union and the United States account for a very significant share of world finance. Around 77% of world wholesale finance is from the United States and from Europe. We Europeans and Americans must now join efforts and extend our cooperation to major developed and emerging economies. We must act swiftly to respond to the urgency, but we must also look forward at the medium and long term. The international financial system, its basic principles and regulations, and its institutions need reform. We need a new global financial order. Together, the European Union and the US, we can make a difference. Together, we should show the way towards an international response to the financial crisis and contribute to global growth. This is why Europe wants the calling of an international summit as soon as possible to launch an effective world response to world crisis. It's precisely because we believe in open societies and open economies. Open societies need rules, the rule of law, the rule of democracy. Markets also need rules, if possibly commonly agreed rules. And as President Sarkozy just said, we'll be this week also in Beijing for the ASEM summit, where we hope to engage also other partners around this very line. Addressing the financial crisis must go hand in hand with providing our enterprises and citizens the conditions for creating wealth and jobs. I really believe we have a very strong responsibility. Thank you very much for receiving.